HRN listeners. As we celebrate our 15th year, we are deepening our commitment to giving voice to the next generation of food systems storytellers, and we need your help. Our internship and fellowship programs help activate new possibilities for underrepresented and underestimated young people through experiential journalism, audio engineering, and production training. Through these unique programs, HRN helps food equity stewards build essential workforce readiness skills that expand their potential and foster economic mobility. Please consider supporting these critical programs. And with a minimum donation, you can be entered to win a dinner for two at an amazing restaurant in one of 8 cities and tickets to a concert at a great venue in one of those cities. We have incredible partners across the country who have donated, as they also share our passion for helping to educate the next generation of food systems storytellers. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. And make sure you donate before March 31st. Thank you.
I'm Lisa Held, a food journalist and podcast host, presenting Behind the Label with American Humane. Produced by Heritage Radio Network for Springer Mountain Farms, this podcast series dives into what the American Humane Certified label really means. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's September, and as the days get shorter and temperatures cooler, it's time to go back to school. This week on Meat and Three, we're looking at how lunchtime is changing from elementary schools through college, whether classes are remote or in person.
While there was some information about where families could access food, it was spread out on many different websites.
I'm seeing people, advocate for going back into school, and a main reason is, food insecurity. Like, kids go to school and they get fed, and that's a whole other thing of fight for kids to be fed versus going to school.
Tune in to Meat and Three, HRN's weekly food news roundup, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, welcome to Beer Sessions Radio on the Heritage Radio Network. I'm Jimmy Carboni. I'm the host here on the Heritage Radio Network of Beer Sessions Radio. We've got a special show today. We're talking about biscuits and beer. And let's have our guests introduce themselves. Start with Christopher.
Hey guys, my name is Christopher Ganzi. I'm the owner and operator of Delview Biscuits and Beer and also Delview Brewery.
That's great, man. We were so looking forward to having you on. I know we originally had this show scheduled at the beginning of August. One of those big storms came up, and a couple of us had power outages. So thank you so much for rescheduling with us. And our other good friend, Chef Jesse.
Yes. Hi, how you doing? Chef Jesse Jones, private chef and cookbook author.
That's great. Jesse, I know you through cooking at different events. You usually shine, whether it's cassoulet or pig or brisket. And we've got a lot to talk about today. I really appreciate you coming on the show with me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So the initial point of this was biscuits and beer. So let's talk about each of you, what biscuits means to you and where you get some of your inspirations. I know you both have some Southern roots. So let's start with Jesse. Jesse, you got a biscuit recipe. You always tell me how good it is. So
yeah,
a little backstory on that.
Well, I mean, my grandmother had the most unbelievable biscuits, and she made them flat, and she had the good old country sausage. So that's my fond memory of biscuits was hers. And then now finally, I've been playing around with it so long, I got her biscuit. It tastes like hers. It's flat, but I use yeast, and I'm just a biscuit fool. I mean, I love biscuits with molasses, and just been playing around with all type of recipes from chefs that I work for. Everybody do them different, and I just find my own little niche. But it's definitely a labor of love,
So a big part of biscuits for you, it's the recipe of the biscuit. Then it's also how you serve it, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to have some good old molasses or some good syrup, great a country egg and sausage. All by themselves, they're great as well. But yeah, you gotta have some nice condiments to go with it.
And where's someone in your family from? You said your grandmother's from one of the
Uh,
Carolinas.
Yep, no, North Carolina. Families from Snow Hill, North Carolina, and a little bit of West Virginia. Yeah, but yeah, our roots are in North Carolina, and biscuits. They rule down there. But biscuits to me is a required taste, and then if you don't do them right in our family, and they don't make the table. You know what I mean? So, if you
Yes, I
you
know
do a
about that.
you a bad biscuit, they gonna. I mean, they hurt you. I mean, I guess you get your feelings hurt nowadays, but back in the day, they let you have it. And they'll talk about it forever. Every conversation. You remember you remember you brought these rock hard biscuits in here for us to break our teeth, and they just bust your chops. And you gotta have thick you gotta have thick skin.
Jesse, you sure we're not family, man? Because that's the same thing that happens with us. If somebody brings
I
something that's
know.
not right,
Yeah, no, no, absolutely, absolutely. We got to be family because and what's great about my story now, my life is I've been telling my stories that people can relate, and that's what makes it fun. Like seems like that's going out the window these days, but yeah, they will let you have it. And it's like it's that love too, because like my grandmother would do it all by hand, and I'll watch her, and it was just a great experience, and that's what I'm getting back to just that experience of food up close and personal with people again, like when we were with our grandmother, and bring love back into the world.
So, what would be a flaw if I came over and I was trying to impress you with my biscuits? What would I not do right that would not let it on the table
Mhm. For me or for Chris?
for you, Jess? Because you're on a roll.
Um, Well, I mean, me personally, I would love to have them coming right out the oven as we sit down. Some people make them in the morning and bring them, and they're cold, and then you warm them up. Sometimes they're good, but it's something about to me that good old biscuit coming out. No, that can't always happen, but it's nothing like a good old biscuit coming right out the oven hot, and you bite the root, your root of your mouth burns, and
it's
you're
like
trying to
heaven.
manage you're trying to manage it. So that's the first experience, and then obviously warming them up is good too. But it's how you present them. Like if you come and you got them warm, that's when people really their eyes like light up when you come. They go, oh, they're still a little warm. You're like, yeah, I just pulled them out the oven and brought them over. They're warm. That's to me. You got the butter and jelly. To me, that's bringing everybody together.
Yeah, there's a wide variety of biscuits in New York City, and you don't usually get them right out of the oven like that. I'll tell you.
Right.
Let's go to Chris. So, Christopher, tell us about your little origin biscuit story.
it's
Who in
it's
your
it's,
family inspired you, and some of
it's
the
very
lore.
simple. It's very similar to Jess. I watched my grandmother making her biscuits when I was younger. She made hers flat. She didn't use yeast, but she used buttermilk and butter. Um, yeah, it was like, and she never used the recipe. Everything was by hand and by feel. Um, so eventually, I asked her for the recipe. She gave it to me. What she told me wasn't what happened, but it was just like trial and error trying to make those biscuits. I do my biscuits a little bit different from how she does her biscuits. Mine are fluffy, just like Jess. My grandmother used to make them flat and crispy and crusty, and that's how she likes them. Even if she eats my biscuits now, she pulls all the middle out and only eats the top and the bottom of the biscuit. But yeah, so it was the same journey, but I knew I wanted to do something different with the biscuit than what was happening when I was growing up. But she always had fresh preserves in the house because she had like a garden in the backyard, so she'll bring in different fruits and make preserves, or even frying chicken and fried okra, and with gravy and using the biscuit to sop up everything off the plate, which I didn't understand it when I was younger, but now I do. It's like if the biscuit's right and the food's right, it's all good.
And where is your grandmother from?
My grandmother is from she was born in Swansea, South Carolina, but she currently lives in Columbia, South Carolina right now.
And is that where you grew up too?
Yeah, born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay, so we're setting the stage for the biscuits. We can go pretty deep into talking about how we make our biscuits, but let's jump up to you open a business. So Delvey Brewing Biscuits and Beer. Why biscuits and why a brewery? Tell us how you got started.
So this is how I got started. My wife left town one weekend for an educational conference, and my daughter needed food, like something for a publishing party. She was in elementary school, and she's like, and I said, "What do you want me to make?" She said, "Make biscuits." I said, "Sure." So we made biscuits that day for her class. People liked them. Um, and teachers started requesting them again. And then my wife went out of town like several weeks later for another educational conference. And I said, you know what? I don't feel like doing anything. I don't want to leave the house this weekend. So, kids, we're gonna put an ad out that we're gonna be doing biscuit sandwiches this weekend. So I made biscuit sandwiches, like breakfast biscuits and fried chicken biscuits on a Saturday. And people came out, hanging out at my house and just eating the biscuits, enjoying it. They loved it. They actually was doing it again. So 4 weeks later, I did it again, and the second time around, I added a beer. So I brewed a beer to go along with it. So we call it the second event Biscuits and Beer. And people came, even more people came. They sampled the beer because we couldn't sell it, and they were eating the biscuits, and they was ordering more biscuits, and we ended up running out. And after that, we transitioned when Allen was still in town during that time. They was doing a thing called Foodie Fridays, and I took over the kitchen for the summer, for that spring, the summer, and the first part of the winter, doing biscuit sandwiches out of their brewery every Friday. And then it progressed because I didn't really have a real plan to opening actual storefront. I was doing it because I was having fun. I wasn't trying to make money. So the gods led me to a physical space, and Delview Biscuits and Beer came to reality.
It's a great start. And Jesse, for you, tell us about have you used biscuits in your cooking throughout your career, or do you teach biscuits in your classes? And how important is Southern food in your life? Because I know you've embraced New Orleans food and French techniques.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, biscuits go way back in my repertoire, starting with obviously, like I said, my grandmother. But when I worked in French restaurants, and the pastry chefs there, they made all kind of shortbread dough and biscuit doughs. But I had the pleasures of working under a master pastry chef, um, Fred, when I was young, and so but through him, I learned the ins and outs of baking one on one and fell in love with biscuits. He had a great recipe. He made great scones, all kind of crazy scones. And so when I started to work with them and get into a more professional level of baking and biscuits and things like that, I went back to my grandmother and she shot all that out the window. She was like, "I don't know nothing about that. This is how grandma did it." And so that's how I learned like that feel of making the dough. But now you got to mass produce this, so you can't be sitting there gathering everybody around and watch you make biscuits. So how could you mass produce it and like make a volume? And that's when I started to learn like doing a lot of volume biscuits and appreciating them. Just different chefs that I worked for. I worked in a French 4-star restaurant for a long time. They did all types of biscuits and they laced it with foie gras, the best European butter, the best the homemade creme de fret, homemade buttermilk, all different types of things to bring me right back to down home. So when I was in culinary school, I used to go back down south and yeah, start playing with white lily flour, and different buttermilks and just the texture, and then eating them. So yeah, I've been a biscuit fan forever, and you know the restaurant I used to work, they used to put little biscuits like right on the table when you sit down. It was like so good, and they give you some nice butter. So I can appreciate the biscuit. Everybody, it's not, it's an easy thing to do, but you can jack up some biscuits.
What's the secret that you use, Jesse, when you're making it for a larger scale, for like a restaurant or an event? How do you stretch what your grandmother taught you?
Well, I don't so much scratch too much. I keep hers in mind, but when it comes down to mixing, I don't over mix it. You know, you can over mix it, and maybe you don't want to make it too elastic and gummy. So I lightly still mix it, even if I'm doing a big volume. And then when I put it that big lump on the table, like I'm just kind of kneading it with my hand and feeling it, and I'm really playing around with it. Not a lot, because I see a lot of people just overwork it. They play around with it too much. So yeah, I just try to as less mixing as I could do to just basically incorporate everything, and then I pipe them out. I mean, with a ring mold. But see, I done got into yeast biscuits, so that's my thing now. I love the texture of the biscuit, but then I like that fluff of the cake of the bread. So I've been playing around with biscuits with duck fat inside.
Whoa.
So yeah, I've been. That's what I'm playing around with. I got a mean duck fat biscuit. Yeah.
I need to try that biscuit, Jess.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely, absolutely. You gotta, and then I'm back to the lard because a lot of people don't do lard.
Yeah.
So I tell them like, oh, they got lard in it. They're like, okay. So that's why I love That's why I love Pig Island because everything rules. I could do the lard. My biscuits. I mean, fat just rules. Bacon rules. No, it's no rules there. So I can play around. But for my clients and other people, obviously you got to alter. Some people don't like to use shortening. Some people don't like buttermilk. So I play around with all types of things to the clients' liking.
See, now we're getting excited. So, Christopher, so at your place, Daleview Biscuits and Beer, what's the basic biscuit recipe that you've stuck with, and did you have to modify it after you opened your restaurant?
We still make it. We still make scratch biscuits. We instead of using a circle cutter, we use a square cutter. But everything is still done by hand because I'm very nervous about using any mechanical things to mix my biscuits. Just like Jess said, you don't want to overwork those biscuits. And our biscuits are gluten free, and the more you work it, the tougher they get. So it's all about being gentle. So I just found that common ground and being gentle with the biscuits. But the recipe is still the same. We're still doing everything by hand. We're able to do bigger bulks by hand, but we're still keeping it scratch made. Cutting it and putting as much love into that biscuit as we possibly can each and every single time.
So the thing about biscuits, um, biscuits as a sandwich. I always think of biscuit as this side dish to sop up juices or something else. But a lot of restaurants are making sandwiches. I noticed, Chris, that you have like a brunch biscuit with salmon. Um, what are your favorite biscuit, dishes or sandwiches that you guys sell?
Right now, my favorite biscuit that we have on the menu, and we only have a couple more weeks, is the fried green tomato with house-made pimento cheese and bacon. That's my go-to biscuit right now. Um, Also, another one I go to is like a chicken biscuit that's drenched in hot sauce with avocado and bacon and house-made blue cheese. Like those are my go-to biscuits, um, and I can't get enough of them. And this weekend we did oxtail and just doing the oxtail gravy and biscuits, being able to use that biscuit to sop up all that gravy. It's been fun. It's
Yeah,
been fun to use my
that's
hands
what I'm
again.
coming for. That's my kind of food.
Oh
Like,
man,
No,
yeah.
it's amazing. And Jesse, for you, tell us some of the dishes you've made with biscuits. Um,
oh man. I mean, I made so many and Chris got me starving. I mean, I want the oxtails biscuit, man, with the gravy. But I do all kinds. Like in my cookbook, I have a spin. It's a pie crust for my lobster pie, but I also do it with a biscuit too. So I take that biscuit, put it down, and then I ladle over the lobster, kind of like the lobster pie, over it, and scampi gravy and
Mm.
Creole sauce. I put shrimp and crab etouffee over it.
Oh,
But yeah, no, that all sounds delicious. That's Chris was saying, but yeah, it's just about that slopping. My grandma, like yeah, Chris, that Chris was touched on. I mean, that's them days are over. A lot of people are not into it like they used to. But back in the day, that biscuit main job was to you got to have something to slurp up that sauce, that gravy or that
Hmm.
jelly or something. But yeah, I
Yeah, so
love sandwiches too.
it's kind of evolved into being a sandwich, isn't it? Hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's always been a sandwich since I was a little kid. My grandmother would go out and get fresh eggs and those good old um, those red sausage. Christopher know about those.
Oh, the red
And
sausage.
oh,
Oh, that's the truth.
the
That's
red
like,
and then either pimento cheese or and the cheddar is not there's some great farmers that's making some good cheddar, but when I was growing up it was something about the cheese, it was so good. So by the time she melt that cheddar, the red sausage and the egg and the biscuit, oh man, it was insane. You could eat like 4 or 5 of them.
oh yes, or even throwing that country fried ham on the biscuit
Oh man,
with,
with
with,
some
with
red
gravy.
eye, with some red
With
eye
red
gravy.
gravy.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, we'll probably be sinful together, man. This probably be crazy, man. Cooking up.
Oh,
I
Well,
used to love that
I
red
was
eye
going to
gravy.
say that for me, the intersection of food and drink is at the heart of everything. But honestly, I think it's the food that's at the heart of everything.
Yeah.
yes.
So, Christopher, you're expanding. So tell us, you have a brewery, but it sounds like you have a brewery because you wanted to make biscuits.
Well, I wanted to make beer too. Like the original plan was beer was going to rule it all, but my customers told me beer is good, but the biscuits are better. So I listen to my customers. They come regularly for the biscuits. They do drink the beer. They do drink all the drinks we have here, but they want people want the biscuits. And like I said earlier, the biscuits are gluten free, and it's a challenge finding a good or decent gluten free biscuit anywhere. So people come regularly because it's gluten free. Like we've become a destination spot for gluten free food because all our food is gluten free. So the expansion is we're looking at trying to do some wholesale with the biscuits and also doing some direct to consumer. Like we love to ship across the U.S. with our biscuits. So that's where the expansion came in. Just just based off the fact that we have gluten free food and the biscuits are gluten free. Like so, there's a market that's there right for us to grow.
And then, how did COVID change your plans, or this is the things are going the way that you had planned?
Well, COVID did change my plans because I wasn't I wasn't looking at expanding as of yet because they're still growing. But the opportunity, like commercial spaces, are much less. People are eating home a little bit more often, and if you can give them an accessory to go with their meal that they're going to make, it makes it even better. Like Jess says, like everybody can follow a recipe for a biscuit, but everybody can't make a biscuit.
So, are you going to be expanding your kitchen to make more biscuits?
Yes, we're expanding the kitchen. We're going to open up a small a bakery in sense and really start pushing out the biscuits, and I'll start adding a couple of other gluten free baked goods to the mix as well for our customers.
Now, let's talk about what gluten free means, because for me, I feel like part of it is that people are just having mass produced flour. Um, why gluten free? But what are you using in your biscuits?
Um, so gluten free came about because my wife she has a gluten allergy. So whenever she eats any flour, it'll it'll mess her up. So it breaks out in eczema real bad, bloating, and joint aches. Many different symptoms of gluten allergies of gluten. So that's the reason why the biscuits are gluten free. And also the reason why the beer is not because she doesn't drink beer, but I do. So we had to compromise someplace. Um, but right now we do use a commercial made flour. We are working on our own blend, which is challenging, especially at our scale, to really be blending flours. It's kind of cost prohibitive. So we are using like a gluten free flour um, we tried like 10 of them that's on the market and finally came to one that actually works well making biscuits.
That's great. And Jesse, what about you for the any twists and turns that have come your way? Um, Earlier today, I thought, Jesse, the more I get to know you, the more I respect you. You've really worked really pretty deeply in the industry. What do you have to tell a young guy like Christopher, who's making biscuits? I bet you have some wisdom.
Mhm. Yeah, I would definitely tell me obviously keep pushing. I know COVID hurt everybody, but just listen to Christopher. It seemed like he got everything situated the way he want. But my advice to him is to be consistent with your customers. Like every time they hit that door, the biscuit got to be the same because they're going to be telling their friends and they're going to be telling people about you. You don't want to disappoint. That was one of the problems. That was one of the great things when I had my restaurant. So I lost my restaurant, but that was one thing that I keep that's true, just really dear to me is when people see me in the street, they always go, you know what? Every time we came to your restaurant, we had a great meal. So be consistent. Don't deviate from the product.
Yes,
Keep it 100 with that, and I think everything will be fine for you because that's where I see. Like for instance, I went to a friend's restaurant. It was good, and then I brought some people back and the staff was a little rude. It was inconsistent. And I get it; it gets hectic back there. But you should keep your product consistent because you got to remember if it's good, it's going to get better. It's going to get even better, and now you got to be consistent, and it has to always be good. Things
that's
things,
true.
things happen, but it always got to be good. Um, One of the things that I push on now, Jimmy, is about being a chef of color. My whole career, I worked in some of the greatest restaurants here in New Jersey, four-star restaurants, but yet you don't know my name. You never knew I was back there. They never mentioned me. But one day a light bulb just popped in my head, and I said, you know what? Look at all this skill I got. So I jumped out on faith. It was rough, and I never looked back. But I'm kind of lethal right now. I'm dangerous. I got so much in my repertoire for myself now, but I have over 15 chefs that I work for in my life that I even have stuff that they taught me that I don't even utilize anymore. I just playing around with my own thing. But I used to have a chip on my shoulder, but I'm so grateful, even though things happened the way they did it, with just the racist tension in the kitchen, the way they treated me. But I really appreciate the learning, and then that's why I give. Like people go, "Oh, you giving out the real recipe?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I don't mind sharing it because if you're not consistent, because I'm gonna be up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you coming in at 2, like what's going on? I'm already there, bro. You know what I mean? So if you beat me that way, people that know me, they go, no, you're not going to outwork me. That's one thing. Like I sleep on a timer, and then wake up. Oh, I got to get. I'm checking the smoker and checking my stuff. So I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to make sure no matter what I'm doing, you're going to have a good product, and what gives me pleasure is when you enjoy my food.
Yes,
Jesse, you
I agree
mentioned
with that.
smokers too. Our friend Phil Wingo, barbecue guy,
Yeah.
he said that for him, barbecue is more like baking
Hmm.
than anything
Yes.
because of the time involved.
Exactly. And that's where some people cheat the time and don't get the good results, or you can be out there a long time and get a terrible product by not. It's really one with the wood. Now, if you have a smoker that's on a timer, then you just loading it and you're just hanging out. But I'm out there putting my wood in, playing around. I'm not opening it and closing it, but I'm checking the wood. I'm keeping it at a good temperature, and that's trial and error. I work with an old chef, although he called me names all the time. It's something that he always told me. He said, Jesse, when you are one with the food and consistency, and you're there all the time, you're gonna always get a good product. And once you can master it and you can do it with your eyes closed, then it's like it's on to the next. So it's like when I'm out there, I already know the time I got to put into what I need to do. But it's a labor of love, and I love it. So I can sit out there and have me a few drinks and get eat up by mosquitoes, to make sure I get a good product because I want people to be happy. And so Phil's out there. It's hard work. People don't understand that. Barbecuing out there, and he's traveling as well. But it's definitely something that you love and appreciate.
Yeah. And one
I
of
agree.
your high notes, one of the events that you cook on with me is the Pig Island NYC event. In
Yeah,
2018, you won Best in Show.
yeah.
So before we close out this segment, tell everybody what you made. You had a great dish that day, but you really put the whole thing together.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I made the whole hog, smoked it different ways and then mixed it together. And I made something interesting. I took the lard and all the drippings from the pork that I had, and I mixed it and made a corn pancake.
Ooh.
And I was cooking it in straight lard out there to order. It must have been about 2,000 people out there. I'm cooking pancakes to order in lard, and putting in. Everybody went absolutely nuts. I didn't even know I won. Jimmy announced the award and sung a song, and I wasn't even there. I still was serving. I still had a lot of people.
Jesse Jones, Jesse Jones.
Jesse Jones, Jesse Jones. I had a
Jesse
line.
Jones.
I had a line of people.
You
Just
kept cooking because you were so busy. You didn't even know
yeah.
you won.
Yeah, well, you know what? I come from. That's why I'm working on a small book. I know we got to close out, but I'm working on another small book. It's going to be look like a short novel. It's going to be called "The Last of My Kind," and that's me. Like so. People are going to say why weird, but that's what it is. It's through food, but I'm be telling my story because people, the feedback makes me get even stronger, make me go back to the drawing board. I want the ultimate product. Keep pushing it, like the smoked pork the shoulders and butts that I'm doing Saturday going to be incredible. And then I'm doing a um, small cornbread muffin with foie gras. I'm doing a dirty cornbread, and it's gonna buck your kneecaps.
It's going to be great. And Jesse, what's the name of your book?
Uh, Pal, my life in 40 feasts, and that pal means passion, opportunity, and work.
That's great. Well, listen, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back in a few minutes on Beer Sessions Radio and talk more with Chris and Jesse.
I'm Lisa Held, a food journalist and podcast host, presenting Behind the Label with American Humane. Produced by Heritage Radio Network for Springer Mountain Farms, this podcast series dives into what the American Humane Certified label really means. We're looking inside the farm certification process, beginning with the moment a farmer expresses interest in becoming American Humane Certified, all the way to a consumer seeing the seal on store shelves.
And American Humane is our country's first national humane organization, founded way back in 1877. Now we certify nearly 1 billion farm animals each and every year. Despite that growth, roughly 90% of U.S. farm animals are still raised without the benefit of independently verified science-based standards.
Subscribe to Behind the Label with American Humane wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, welcome back to Beer Sessions Radio on the Heritage Radio Network. Check us out, heritageradionetwork.org. Become a member. Support shows like Beer Sessions Radio and 30 other shows about food and chefs and farming. All right, so we're talking about biscuits and beer, but more about biscuits and food with Chris from Daleview Biscuits and Beer and Chef Jesse Jones. Jesse, it's so great to hear about the cookbook, and that's how I know you. My life in My Life in 40 Feasts. But Christopher, so as you're expanding, I wanted to talk a little more about the industry because you have a brewery and a cafe, and you're expanding in the biscuit business.
Yes.
What is it like teaching someone else to cook your food? I always thought that that's the hardest thing because things like flavor and the feel and timing, it's not really something you can teach to anyone, especially when you're not just pressing a button.
Yeah, and that has been teaching someone how to cook the food has been the challenge thus far, since we've been open. I've been looking for that right person for the past year. I have friends who can do what I do, but they also come from the same region of the U.S. that I do, so it's easy to translate. Yeah, it's been a challenge. It's real hard to teach someone to be gentle with the biscuits and not overwork it. Don't stress it. To come in with an open heart and loving hands. Um, and not to, and also not when we're seasoning something, not to be afraid to season it. We want full flavor, full body when we cooking our food, like when we're making chicken, or even if we doing making a pulled pork, we want full flavor. So it's people are scared to season. Like it's hard to explain, but people, that's been a challenge. I've been looking for that person, that right person for, wow, like I said, for a year to help come in to alleviate some of the stress off, not stress, but alleviate some of the work from me, so I can step back and do some other things as well to help really grow the business.
Well, it's hard to begin with. Just to hire anyone, it seems that you're going to have a 3 or 6 month learning process where you may not even know if in the end they're going to be good enough, right?
Yes, yes. And I had one person come who wanted to do an internship with me, um, and this young person made some amazing biscuits, but they had to go back to school. They was in high school. There was a junior in high school, but they had to go back for senior year, and now they're off to college. And I wish I can clone that person, have them come back and make biscuits for me every single day.
You always hear this about, regional food. There's someone from, used to be a certain part of Southwest France where all the cooks in Paris were from. Or, you wouldn't have to really explain to them a lot of things. Or maybe they studied under a certain chef. I mean, how are you going to find someone to cook your regional food from that part of South Carolina?
You know, it goes back to trial and error, and have people taste the food as we're cooking. As I'm cooking and they're watching and observing and doing, they're gonna have to taste the food, and they can't have the reins until we're at that point where there's some type of ingredients that you have, like you're there, almost there. And at the end of the day, I want somebody, like, well, I'm looking for somebody who has a heart to learn, like a willingness to learn and have a love of food and a love of making people happy through food. And I think that's probably more the key to finding the right person, because when my parents cook, when my grandparents cook, and I think about any family meal I had when I was a kid, even now with my wife and family, it's always made out of love. We can mess something up, but if it's made with love, people are gonna like it, unless they really messed it up and they can't bring that macaroni and cheese or that biscuit ever again. But if it's made with love, like and truly from the heart, somebody's truly cooking from the heart, I think that's really part of like Southern cooking, like cooking people cooking from the South, like you cooking with your heart and love, because you want to see people smiling, happy, and go into a food coma when they finish eating.
Well, let's go, Jesse. You mentioned the challenges of being a black chef and not getting the recognition you deserve when you were younger.
Hmm.
What about the role of black cooks in Southern culture and food? Because I mean that's kind of what the show's about.
Yeah.
All the food you're talking about is ultimately this was cooked by black people.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, it's funny. Um, Back in the day, I was always talking about this when I discovered Patrick Clark. He was the first black, really celebrity chef cooking French, and I was intrigued by him once my chef told me about him, and that's when I started playing around with Southern, with a little French twist. And then, New York Times wrote, where are all the black chefs back then? And here we are, fast forward to now, they're asking the same thing. Now, there are a slew of great chefs, black chefs, that's getting the notoriety and getting the publicity, but it seemed like they only want 5 of them. They don't want all the chefs. So it's great that chefs are getting exposure now, but a lot of chefs are going back to their roots. They're going back to the culture of African American cuisine, where we were the only chefs, black people were only ones cooking, and I'm excited about that. The only thing, the younger generation the younger black chefs that's getting the James Beers Award and everything, they're dissing chefs like me. Like they don't because I didn't get up to their caliber of a James Beard Award or anything like that. I still paved the way for them to even do that. So When I see that happen, I just keep it moving. And then some of them do reach out because I have a lot in my repertoire, but it never included me. Like if we're sitting around doing menus, everybody's throwing everything in the pot about a menu, and I'm saying, hey, what about this or what about cucumbers? And then they're just like ignoring me. So I have this amazing journey now where I'm on my own, Jimmy, and I get to do whatever I want to do with great food. And if it's trial and error, so that's the fun thing about it. And I want to keep African American cuisine alive. I want to keep Black chefs alive. So when you see me, my integrity, I represent every chef that I work for, no matter how they treated me. Um, I represent them. I come from a lineage of great chefs. Um, I'm serious when it comes to this, and I'm starting to get a little recognition now when people understand that I'm serious, but I'm also knowledgeable too. Like, and if I can't help you, I'll find a way to help you because it's all about trial and error. Like Chris was saying, finding help. Like it's tough. You may get that one person that comes in and help you, but it's so tough. So that's why I teach the young kids, the young African American kids. I teach any kid really, but I want to see more color in the industry, and I like to teach them. It's better to get a younger person than an old methodical person because he'll get in there as soon as you turn around. He's doing it his way. You come back like I told you to do it this way. You're like, I'm the boss. So if you get a younger person, they're kind of going to do it the way you tell them and this way. And they should work with great chefs. I was glad that I worked with great chefs. You have to work with great chefs to be good. I'm sorry. Just
And
have to.
how many times you have? Let's say you had a sauce that you liked, or
Yeah.
it could be a biscuit. How many times do you have to not just make it but taste it
Oh,
when you're a young person to actually know what it's like?
No, absolutely have to know how it tastes. But nowadays, the younger kids are starting from the bottom, obviously. But there's what they call the five mother sauces, and I was taught that in school and all the restaurants I work. There are five mother sauces, and if they don't really learn the basic five mother sauces and implement in sauces, they will really never know what they taste like. Like a lot of them make sister sauces, but you got to know where the base come from. And once you know where the base come from, then you could do all kinds of sauces, especially for biscuits. I had the pleasure of with almost 5 years training with the saucier, which is a top dog in New York. He does all the sauces, and even doing all the grunt work for him and being treated like a dog roasting bones. They turned me into a beast. I'm like the sauce master. Everybody always go crazy over my barbecue sauce at Pig Island. Any sauce I make, they rave about it. But it's a lot of work to get maybe a gallon of sauce, though. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
roasting all these bones, but by the time I'm done, I might only have like a quart or a gallon at the most. But it's just that labor of love that I love. And when I say the five mother sauces, I mean a Robert, a Espanol, a Velouté, a tomato sauce, a bechamel. Those are the sauces that will make some serious sauces for some biscuits.
Yeah, and then so learn from that, Chris. What are some of the challenges that a new cook is going to get in your kitchen?
I think the challenge is going to be is like I'm not a trained cook chef, and I've been a home cook and cooking for years, and it's cooking from love. It's like I'm not coming from a technical place. I'm coming from a place of let's have fun, let's experiment, and let's get it right. When we're doing sauces and doing anything, it's lots of tasting. Like we go through lots of spoons in the Delview kitchen. But I think that's the challenge when somebody comes and cook with me. Unless you already have an idea of how to cook Southern cuisine, um, that's the challenge that comes from me. Like
Chris, I'm in the same. I was also a home cook, self-taught, and had my own restaurant. And the biggest challenge was exactly what you're saying: is how could I translate the food I like to a chef who'd been trained to come in? And I see it now. I remember it relates to beer. I remember when Six Point first opened in Brooklyn, and they were making some really great beers, small batches. But eventually, they had to start making beer at a large facility in Pennsylvania, and they found very quickly that their small batch recipes no one could replicate. So they
yes,
hired their first real good brewer was a brewer from Germany, and he turned their American wheat and basically made it a Hefeweizen recipe, for example. So in some weird way, it's almost like you might have to get some classic recipes that that kids out of cooking school know how to make, and
Yeah,
almost like try out one or two of those. I don't know. It's interesting to think about how you can grow it.
that's true. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, Jimmy, if you don't mind, if I can just touch on with Chris with that. Also, when you get someone in culinary school, and then they get in there and they realize that you didn't been to school, sometimes it's tough because they want to see it their way, but they got to understand it's two different worlds there. With what you doing from the love and that home cooking, they don't even teach that in school, So
Yeah.
that's the love right there. And then you obviously will figure it out. And then once you tell them how to do it, the only thing that you may want to probably learn technically is the technical part, like mise en place, having everything ready in order to instruct them. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of you probably wouldn't be interested, but I know back in the day, a few of my clients that I was helping, they even went to culinary school for a brush up course, just management, just brush up, just to get if they wanted to go that route. The ideal of a more a production kitchen with trained cooks.
Well, yeah, that is on my radar. Like I've been thinking about that for a while.
Yeah,
It's just figuring out the timing of it.
right, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, um, good luck, Christopher. I still can't believe that you opened a brewery, but you're really growing your biscuit business.
Yes. Brewing is very like growing a brewery can be very expensive, and I don't know if I want to take. And I'm never saying never. I don't know what I want to take on that expense in the city. Um, so that's where I'm at with that. So it's who knows what's going to happen in the next 12 to 24 months. We might be talking again. I was like, yeah, I just got a bigger space, and we're going to as we're doing 15 barrel system instead of a 2 barrel system.
That's right.
Yeah, and let's
Never
go
say
back
never.
to the naming of your place. So you said you opened a brewery and you opened the restaurant. How did you come up with the different names? And is it confusing for people?
Everyone knows us as Delview Biscuits and Beer. We never really talk about Delview Brewery as unless we're going to like a New York City Guild meeting or a state meeting, but everyone knows us as Delview Biscuits and Beer. And Delview came about. It's a neighborhood I grew up in. It's a small subdivision I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. So it's like think about all my friends and family I grew up with during my formative years. Like it's giving homage back to them. So that's how Delview came about. It's like my middle name is Dale as well, but it's like giving back to my family and friends that I grew up with. Let them know that that neighborhood is very important to me and as well to them.
Yeah. And Chris, on the brewing side, and in terms of giving back to the community, I know that with Black Lives Matter, you've done an initiative. Did you do your own collaboration project?
Yeah, me and a young man named Chris Ennis, and before all the craziness went down, like because there's been craziness going on for years. Um, we were talking about the lack of diversity in the craft beer world overall, and that conversation was how do we help change that? It didn't happen in one day; like it happened over several meetings, and then it's like we decided like let's build an internship so we can get people to take part in the brewing world. It's like we have so many people going to school for many different degrees, but don't realize that they can come back and get a job in a brewery doing something they have a passion for. Um, and they came back to exposure. The lack of exposure for anybody in anything keeps people out of growing in different industries and different sectors of society. So it's like let's start an internship and help expose people of color to the craft brew world. So we sat down and when COVID hit, really gave us more time to really plan everything that we was going to do. So we sat down. It started off as a 4-week internship that we was talking about, and by the time May came about, it was like we didn't do 8 weeks. 4 weeks they go through all the processes. They learn how to brew. They learn the packaging. They learn the marketing. They learn the admin portion. They learn front of house. In that first 4 weeks, like they exposed to all those different aspects, and then the last 4 weeks they get to put all those things they learned into action and brew a beer. And week 4 of the last week of that internship, they market that beer and they sell that beer, so that money can go right back into the internship to help increase, exposure for people of color, and even any, and also eventually any other serve group out there as well. We're looking at this internship is to bring people together. Like, this is our small way help diversify our society. Since we both love craft beer, that was the best place to put it.
So, Chris, we're going to wrap up soon, but that was a really important thing that you said because, the Michael Jackson Foundation set up by Garrett Oliver. Did you guys have any talks, or do you think that he was thinking independently of that? Because that's getting a lot of attention.
I think that this conversation has been happening in small groups everywhere, and with everything happening, people like finally said that we need to do something and not wait anymore. Like, we need to be in the forefront going forward, like and making the changes. I haven't talked to Gary yet. I would love to, but he seemed like he was a man of vision going anyway. So he's on a national level, and we're going to be more on a local level and help him grow in our local community, which is going to help feed into that national. Yeah.
And like any internship or apprenticeship, how do you find people to participate in it?
We're gonna. That's one thing we're finalizing, and that's where we're at right now. It's like all the small finalization parts of the internship. We do plan on partnering with SUNY and some other school organizations, and also some other nonprofit organizations that deal with people of color. Because we're just not going for college kids, college people. Like, we want that's the set of people to be very diverse, from you graduated from high school and had no desire to go to college, or you decide to go to college and you want to get a degree in X, Y, and Z, but you want to learn a new skill. So we keep right now it's open. So we're talking about who we partner with to get the information out to.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'm glad we touched on that a little bit. Last thing. Okay, your favorite biscuit. I'll tell you mine. I don't even think mine's a biscuit. Well, Jesse, there was this chef, Joe DeBias, and years ago when we did the Pig Island cookbook, the ilikepig.com,
Mm-hmm.
his recipe, your recipe is in there, I think your pork strudel,
Yeah.
his recipe was the lard biscuit.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had that in a long time. But my favorite biscuit type dish might not even be a biscuit. It's a French pastry called gaugère. Have you ever made that?
No.
It's gaugère. It's a dough. It's like a biscuit. You also have to serve it really hot, and you got to use like really good Gruyere cheese in it.
Oh, nice.
It's a Gougere. If you ever get that recipe, you want to blow it out more than you were, Chris. Keep pumping out gaugères fresh. It's
Mm-hmm.
So what's your favorite biscuit, Jesse?
Oh, like I said, what I've been playing around, I got two. I got a sweet potato yeast biscuit, and I got the regular yeast biscuit with lard in this series.
Mm. I need to come over and try those biscuits, Jess.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah. I would definitely love your feedback. Yeah, because that's how I am. I'm a feed. I cook and people critique it and they like it. I'm like, great. If it's great, I leave it. If not, I'll work on it.
Yes.
And Chris, what's your favorite biscuit?
I'm simple. Give me a nice hot butter biscuit with a little bit of honey or a little bit of jam, and that tops my day off right there.
Yes.
and throw a stout with it. That's even better.
And maybe a piece of ham.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's that time of night. It's almost 6:00, I think. So I'm going to get ready for dinner, and I'm
Yeah.
going to think of what I can bake. You guys have been so great. Thanks so much we originally had this show scheduled for August, and we're doing it now in September 2020. Thank you so much for joining me, Jesse Jones and Chris Gansby. I'm Jimmy Carboni. I'm the host here on Beer Sessions Radio. Thanks to our producer, Dylan Hoyer, engineer today, Amanda. And we'll catch you next time on Beer Sessions Radio. All right.
Beer Sessions Radio is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find us at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be part of the food world's most innovative community? Subscribe to the shows you like. Tell your friends, and please join the HRN family by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.